That sounds like it might be just about all we have to say to Hokum, isn't it? So I want to bring up this, which is pretty big for what's happening right now. I think this is an article from Deadline.
Wow.
From this morning. This will kick us off to talk about the other two big theatrical releases, but this is insanity. I'm loving it. Backrooms mushrooms to 81 million in US, 118 million worldwide. It's a record opening for A24 and Obsession with the best ever focus features. Now, I'm getting into the article a little bit more. 81.4 domestic and 18 what looks to be global basis this morning. The number one movie claims the number one record opening for what is the youngest filmmaker ever. Parsons is now just 20 years old. The previous youngest filmmaker to have a number one opening was Josh Trank at 27 for Chronicle in 2011. Hopefully, Parsons doesn't follow in Trank's trajectory, and we get some more good stuff from Parsons. But this is the biggest opening A24 has ever seen in its 14-year history. Big Gen Z audience here for Turn-In Entertainment, co-finance Blumhouse Atomic Monster. Let me skip through. This is the part. So I was a diehard Star Wars fan my entire childhood. And did I ever think a day would come when two independent horror movies are trouncing a Star Wars film in the box office? No, I did not. So to me, it's amazing. Where is the other part? Okay, yes, as we told you previously, it's the first time that Blumhouse Atomic Monster has owned the top two spots at the domestic box office. Focus Features' third frame of Obsession is coming in at 26.4 for a running total of 104.7 million. The highest grossing movie ever stateside for Universal specialty label. Saturday was 10.1 million plus 23% over Friday's 8.1 million. The third weekend is up 10%. The last time that happened with a wide release in its second weekend was 1982's E.T.
Wow.
Which E.T. is one of the best films ever made. Sean, we saw your Letterboxd review.
Yeah, Sean hates it.
We'll get into this.
Oh no!
I don't even remember the last time I watched it, but that sounds about right.
I mentioned you so much, Sean, in our EP stream. I'm so sorry.
You gotta check our episode.
Oh my god!
I gotta look at the review because I don't remember the last time I watched it. But it seems like one of those movies that you have the ones you remember so well one way, and then you watch it, and you're like, "Oh my god, I was wrong."
I hope that's the case.
You gave me 3 stars. You gave me 3 stars.
Yeah, but like the way he wrote about it in the review, the things he said were just.
E.T.
Oh, product placement. Okay, it's a little on.
Oh, yeah,
okay.
well, yeah.
We're not here to trash Sean's review, but
I actually loved his different opinion. I loved it.
Yeah, we should have had you on that episode. It would have been great. It would have been great.
Go watch Jaws instead.
Yeah.
Fair.
I remember watching it or writing this at all.
See, I would say that E.T. and Jaws are two of Spielberg's best works. I think they're both nearly flawless films. But we're talking about other stuff. The last time this happened for a film was 1982's E.T. Obsession's global haul stands at 148 million from Universal and non-Universal Studios. It has a way to go before becoming the highest grossing Focus Features behind London Has Fallen and Downton Abbey. But I thought this was just insane. We're looking at number one. This is outdated already because it was this morning. Backrooms number one, Obsession number two, Mandalorian and Grogu number 3 in week 2. Obsession is number 2 in week 3. Insane.
Wow.
So that's that's to kick off our discussion of Obsession. Let's get into it.
Who said they didn't like it? Was that you, Kelsey?
Yeah.
Kelsey started it off.
It's the start.
No. Oh my God. I don't know. So I will say, take everything I say with a grain of salt. I do think the majority of people will like it. I wanted to like it, but I had a feeling if I was going to skip any of the 3 movies we were going to talk about this month, it was going to be Obsession. But then you guys in the chat were like, oh, yeah. I was like, okay. Like, they really want to talk about it. I'll go see Obsession. So I saw it. I like sandwiched in the day I was going to go see it right before Backrooms. So the day before Backrooms. And I was like, all right. I'm going to be open about this. There was just something about the trailer. I was like, this just doesn't look like my jam. I don't know if I'm going to sound like get off my lawn, like get off my lawn, but I think I will, and I apologize.
If your lawn, tell them to get off. If you want them off, tell them to get off.
I mean, so I think part of it had to do, like I said, I recognize there's so many good things about it. The performance, I will say the positives first. This will be a good thing. So I loved Indy's performance. I thought she was incredible. I thought that was the best part of the film. She went to places that reminded me of like the 80s movie Possession. Like that's what it went to. And I loved that part of it. Another positive, I thought it was shot well. I thought the director did a great job, especially for kind of being a younger filmmaker. And I have no really big criticism about that. In terms of my actual criticisms, I didn't watch it wrong. Anyway, the chat's killing me. I go in there and there was just something bothering me. Like, first we get the cat stuff. I'm not going to say spoilers, but I was like, man, this like makes me feel the wrong way. I don't know.
I think we can get into spoiler territory later in this discussion. I'll put up the banner, and if you see the spoiler banner, mute us so you don't hear it, and then
the box office. Everybody's seen it.
That's true. Well, go ahead, Kelsey.
So I'm not gonna give actual spoilers, but I think what really annoyed me was the characterization. I don't know how else to like pinpoint what I didn't like. The story was good, and it's not like it was unique, but it was still entertaining enough. I love possession stories, and this in a way felt like a possession type story, even though it's like with a little bit of a twist. So the jump scares didn't get me per se. Like I kind of jolted sometimes, but it's like the type of scares you expect with a possession, like a demonic possession movie. So like to me, it was all in line with that. And I love those kinds of movies. So I was like, okay, why am I feeling weird about this? I just think it was something with the tone that didn't work for me. Again, maybe I'm too old and grumpy and horrible now, where I'm like, these freaking young kids, I hate them all. I hate them. Because that was my big criticism. I hate all the characters. Even Indy's character, we barely get to really know her before that Wish is made, and basically we see her giving some money, which is not even her money, by the way, to this homeless guy. Very nice thought, but it's not even her money. She did claim she was going to pay her back, but anyway, that's all we get to see. Like, yeah, she's a good person, I guess, but I don't know. But does she deserve what happened to her? No. But I still didn't like absolutely get invested in her, and I didn't get invested. Well, I hated Bear. Especially as time went, it's like, you never loved her. You loved the idea of her. That's why it's called Obsession, obviously. So I do think it had parts that made me think and ponder. And so in that way, you could say, well, wasn't it successful then? Well, I mean, yeah, but it was infuriating to me because I was like, I'm watching a different movie than everybody else. I hated the friends. I hated Bear. I hated everybody. I think I like Sarah, though. I liked Sarah. And also, some things were unbelievable. Like, would he really be, like, cool with how far it went with the sandwich? I don't think so. I don't expect him to actually just go home and talk to her like, yo, maybe you shouldn't do that. Like, please no. Anyway, I'm sorry. I am glad everyone's loving it. I'm glad it's performing so well. I just don't think it's for me. But Kat, my friend Kat's in the chat, I would say you should go see it because I am in the minority and I am okay with that.
So let me jump in after Kelsey because I told you guys I had some issues with this film. But let me preface by like, this is a 4 out of 5 stars for me. Like, it's a great movie. It's a great movie. I had a personal preference that Kelsey was saying she wasn't quite there on the tone of the movie. And I kind of agree, because for me, the biggest issue was this movie starts as basically a rom-com, but it is lit like a horror movie the entire time, and that drove me insane. I was like, when you are sitting in a diner discussing love, it is okay to let the sun shine in. Like, show some light in the movie. And that is my biggest issue with this film. And that is such a nitpick and such a minuscule thing to critique. But it is one of my biggest issues with a lot of horror, is when they make it overly dark. Because I think you lose some of the great horror that happens in the darkness when everything is dark. So yeah, I think often of like Hereditary, brilliantly lit, bright scenes, horrifically lit, dark scenes. Like, balance is all I'm after. I still think like using the taller aspect ratio for the film to kind of mimic phones and the TikTok generation, brilliant move on Curry Barker's part. I don't know who else noticed that. I'm sitting there in the theater going, this movie is square. Anybody else see that? It was not widescreen. And I thought that was awesome. But yeah, I just thought it was overly dark, and it did kind of like, I wanted to feel the sunshine at the beginning of the film. That way, when the darkness came, it was a little bit more visceral. Other than that, I loved everything else about the film. And I feel like that is such a minor nitpick to complain about the lighting in a film. But that is something that I definitely notice, especially like I watched like Rosemary's Baby, brilliantly lit, bright movie. You can go through the list of lighting a movie brightly and then letting the dark moments actually be dark, working well. So that's just my little nitpick. We can get into the fine arguments of Bear being the villain of the movie if we want to. So
I kind of have a rebuttal for you and Kelsey, or not really a rebuttal, but just your takes are so interesting to me, because to me, watching this movie, it felt like a possession movie, but so far from like demonic possession. And I feel like I'm just so burnt out on demonic possession. So the whole time I was like, hell yes, I love this, like something different. So that's so interesting when you're watching it, like you had that take that it felt like a demonic possession. And then with like the lighting, I almost feel like I hadn't paid too much attention to the lighting like you did, Tim, but I almost feel like having it be so dark made the really terrifying scenes that much scarier, because the whole movie's kind of dark. And normally in horror movies, things get dark, you know a scare is going to happen. The entire movie's dark, so your brain's not really signaling like, oh yeah, something crazy is going to happen right now, and then all of a sudden something psycho would happen. I think there's maybe one scare where you're really like, okay, I know it's coming, when's it going to come, but other than that, so I just think that's interesting.
That's fair. I think the darkness actually for me makes me waiting for every scene to turn into something horrific, because it's shot so dark. I'm waiting for everything to be tragically awful. And instead we just have a cool little diner scene. And this is, like I said, this is like I see in the comment, art is subjective. Entirely I agree. And that's why I'm saying this is a personal preference for me, is that I love when I get the sunshine and rainbows before everything goes horribly wrong. I want that sunlight. I want to know that, hey, this day is going along normal, day at work, brightly lit, having a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, whatever, and then things go tragically awful. I love that in movies when they do that. I love that in books. I want to see the happy moments before the sad comes. And there's still like movies that are or stories that are ultimately tragedies where everything is awful all the time. But I think it's a mountains and a valleys thing for me. It's going in art school. It is, because I went to art school, it is the highlights and the shadows. You have to have the highlights to have the shadows. You have to balance it out. And so that is just my personal preference in watching things. My wife No clue. She didn't pick up on the lighting. I'm walking out of the movie theater, mentioned lighting, and she's like, I didn't notice. And that's totally fine. It was a thing for me. She loved Obsession. She liked Obsession a lot more than I did because she was like, I'm effectively disturbed. So she liked it really well. So, and like I said, it is just personal preference. I like having that light and dark balance in my movies.
Yeah,
so
and I like having, kind of to that note, I like when a character is like kind of more fleshed out until we get into like the crazy stuff. So I would have preferred a more slow burn, but I think it's so popular because it's not a slow burn and because like it's appealing to a different, I guess, demographic of people because of the mix between like rom-com and horror and like the unique way it mixed those two things. I think it appeals to like a wider audience than just pure horror lovers. And especially I think it's really appealing to younger people are really, really into it. I'm seeing it's like sweeping people who are not even horror people, young people.
Get those rom-com fans.
I mean, I don't know what's going
Jessica's
on,
experiencing.
Something's appealing. Maybe the new horror lovers are those rom-com lovers.
They're romance people.
Horror to anyone.
The closet horror fans. We just got to convert them. But anyway, I'm not trying to be too harsh on it. I just, I guess the characters bothered me and the characterization, and I wanted more. And that's just a personal preference. I can see the good things. And when I say I disliked it or I didn't like it that much, I still gave it a 3.5, which is still high. But to me, like if anyone, my friends in the chat will know, like a 3.5 is like, Kelsey hated it. But not really.
Yeah. That's why I tried to preface, in case we forgot, I did say it's like a 4 out of 5. I really, really enjoyed this movie. I just have a little issue with it, and it's so minor, it's ridiculous. But let's get into talking about the story and why we think it is just crushing it at the box office. And I think we kind of touch on that balance of the rom-com element and then bringing in the horror to it. So dive into it. Take it away. What did you love about this movie?
I kind of want to touch.
Go ahead.
Well, I just kind of want to like not keep going, but like just kind of bring in that aspect of the darkness that you were talking about, Tim. And usually I do really dislike that as well. Like that's a huge reason why I don't enjoy a lot of the Conjuring movies, because I feel like they can get too dark and blue and for too long. And with this one, we start a lot of the beginning in Bear's house, and it does seem dark from the very get-go, but I feel like that's a reflection of his character and how he's just like living in his own kind of cesspool of self-loathing, and then he brings what's Indy's character's name? He brings her into it, and Nikki, yes. And I kind of appreciated that we were in darkness in this house for the entire time. This house was never bright. It just got grosser and darker and taped up, and you felt like you were in this dirty drug love den and you couldn't get out. So I appreciated the darkness, especially in the house. And then like there were scenes in the music store when they were at work and having fun and goofing around. They were very brightly lit, almost like fluorescent lighty lit. But we weren't there for very long. So I can see how you just felt like you're in darkness for too long. And I kind of feel like maybe that was more of a reflection of how Nikki is for the majority of the movie, like whether physically or like in her mind, just like clouded in this darkness.
Yeah, I think this movie for me, like I really enjoyed it. And I walked out of the theater feeling like, yeah, that was good. And then several days later, I was still thinking about it and still peeling back the layers. And for me, that's the sign of like, it's a great film. And I can't wait to see it again, because I'm thinking back on the scenes before I understood what was really happening. And I'm like, oh, wait, so this is what was actually happening. And I feel like with certain films, when you watch them the first time, you're not sure if they're doing just weird, spooky things for the sake of weird, spooky things happening. And it reminded me a lot of the first time I watched Get Out, is when you rewatch Get Out and you're like, oh, that's happening because this person is that person and this is really happening and they're doing this. And this movie really nailed that in such a wonderful way. And it's just deeply unsettling. The visual language is very profoundly clear. Like there's this scene when they're at dinner together and he confirms that she only likes him because of his spell. and they do that hard cut to them having sex, and it's horrifying because we understand that he knows that she's not there. And so it just keeps building in that way that I thought, and to address that question of why is it so successful, I think that because we crave discourse around art, and this is a movie that has so many conversations online and in person and in YouTube conversations about it, because there's so much to talk about, which I would say for me, like Hokum was like, it's a fun, spooky haunted house type movie, but I don't really have that much to say about it afterwards. There's not, to me personally, as much depth as Obsession, which really says a lot about the way people treat each other in these dynamics. And to me, that's why I think it's so successful. And the balance of humor, again, the Jordan Peele of it all, the Zach Krieger of it all, understanding how to balance horror and humor in that way makes things so much more both palatable, but also unsettling, because you can switch gears so quickly from a laugh into a shiver.
Yeah. I totally agree with, like, I know I was critiquing my little GC, who's usually here. He calls them Tim picks, nitpicks, but they're Tim picks. I have my Tim picks at the beginning, but like you said, Brian, this movie stayed with me for days after seeing it. And I initially walked out not liking it. And the more I thought about it, the more I was like, oh, this was actually kind of brilliant. Like when I was going to go see the Backrooms, I messaged our chat. I was going to see it Saturday, but then my tire blew and the whole ordeal, and I had to see it a different day. But I was going to do a double feature and watch Obsession again. And to see a movie again in theaters means that I think it's pretty great. So I totally agree with, like, this movie stayed in my brain for weeks now, because I saw it on the opening weekend. It has been in my brain every weekend. And I also have to say that, like, opening weekend, it was a small screen at my theater, packed, filled with people. This weekend, it was on bigger screens in my theater, but I saw Backrooms, and it was also, you would have thought Backrooms was a Marvel movie back when Marvel was at its heyday. My theater was filled for these two movies, and that is awesome. I love that.
Same for my theater. I mean, my theater's not small, but both were filled, and I saw Obsession late. Like, I just saw it this past week, and it was still filled. So that does tell you something. And I keep coming back with, like, positive things to counter my own negative things. Like, for instance, I am still thinking about it. I have been still thinking about it, and there is something very off-putting about it, but in a good way. Obviously in a way that I do love movies that create discourse, and this has made me think in my head a lot. And in those ways, I liked it a lot. Again, I was originally going to be like, it's a 3. And then I'm like, no, the performance, this, that, 3.5. And now I'm almost like, well, maybe I should make it a 4. I don't know. Anyway, so I am getting convinced up and up, but I still feel the friend parts of it were really, like, it's not a spoiler. I'll kind of hide what I'm referencing, but I think anyone who's seen it will know what I'm talking about. Bear's friend Ian, the one who he knows he likes Nikki. He's friends with all of them. So Ian,
he's a POS.
Yes, he is a POS.
And
I hated Ian. I hated him so much. I almost hated him worse than Bear. But anyway, Ian was the worst. But when we find out,
do I need to...
The secret. No, I'm not going to say what it is. When we find out the secret, it doesn't make any sense to me. It does. The whole... Looking back on the beginning of the movie doesn't make any sense to me. Because it's like, so you're a shit friend, obviously, since you never mentioned this. Not that you would... I don't know. Would you mention it? I think you would. To somebody
bro
who's
code,
like about
man,
to go...
It's bro code.
Bro code, yes. Yes, I think in that way you would do bro code. But even so, I feel like he would be more upset when Bear was expressing initially his worry about Nikki. Right? When they come in the day after and they spent the night together. And he's like, oh yeah. Like, that to me makes no sense looking back. After we get that reveal later. I'm like, and then they let her, after she, like, hits her head with that thing, they let him drive off with her instead of coming, like, calling the ambulance to come there. It's all nitpicky shit. I know. But, like, I just can't get over, like, why would he act like that? So, like, I keep getting stuck into these, why did they all act like this? And I usually am not like that.
20-year-olds recently.
No, and that's the problem. No.
I actively try to avoid 20-year-olds recently, but that's me.
They're pretty awful. Like I think Bear and the boyfriend from Midsommar should go get a beer. I don't think I've hated a character as like a boyfriend or whatever like that much since then. I mean, from the opening scene, I'm like, this guy is such a little bitch. He's such a little whiny bitch. Like, and it is like Ian is his friend, but also he's clearly setting him up for his own satisfaction, right? Because he's like coaching him. No, like, but there's that secret that you mentioned, Kelsey. Yeah. And like, so all you can read from that is like, he's totally just like puppeteers, he's puppeteering him. And that's awful, but Sarah is redeemable, I think, but
yes,
they are, like when I left the theater the first time, I knew I really liked it, but I had like a visceral, I compared it, when we did the review on the Horror Vision, I compared it to like a couple albums where like there have been certain works of art where it gives me a physiological response where I feel not ill, like, oh, I'm going to puke, but like I just felt so gross afterwards. And when we reviewed
that's how I felt, kind of.
Like, I really liked it, but I was like, I don't know that I'm going to be in a hurry to see it again. But then I saw it because of my girlfriend. She didn't go with me the first time. She wanted to see it, and she absolutely loved it. But the second time, here's the thing. It's a comedy. Like, yes. I didn't realize it, but if you listen to the music cues, the whole movie is funny as hell because the music is constantly, like, it'll be all serious and then it'll just stop. And it's like it's all comedic timing. And I didn't get the first go through. I remember thinking, okay, the money was funny. There were like a couple things that were, it made me like laugh or exhale, but I felt like, man, there really wasn't much of an exhale in this movie. The second time I'm like, oh, it's a comedy. I mean, it's one that gets very severe at times.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I could see it. I probably could use another viewing, and maybe I would see that more. I mean, I laughed at parts the first time around, but I think I could
like it's a comedy and watch it like it's a fairy tale.
Yeah. Maybe
and then watch it wrong.
I thought apparently I watched it wrong. I definitely thought it was a very, very dark comedy. And that's where some of my criticism with the lighting comes, because normally even dark comedies have bright lighting. But this movie, like you mentioned, the visceral reaction, I think that's why I walked out of the theater going, I don't know that I like that, because it made me feel uncomfortable. And then the longer and then the longer I sat with it, I was like, that's actually just
the whole point.
Credit to the writer, credit to the director for making me feel that way. Yeah. And so the longer I sat with it, the more I appreciate. I will own this movie when its physical release is announced. I will definitely be purchasing it, and I will be showing it to people because I feel like this is a pretty accessible horror movie. It does kind of, we've joked about crossing the rom-com boundaries with Jessica's Fatally Yours, apparently bringing in romance authors who love it, but we also have this movie that can bring in kind of the rom-com fans, and hey, this is a dark rom-com, and give it a shot. And it is disturbing. It is disturbing. The jump scare that I mentioned, that I think this takes jump scare of the month for me, and it would have to do with a certain brick. So that was jumped out of my seat because I was so mad too. I was so mad because it's coming. You know it's coming.
He did this thing expertly where he knows his fan base, and he knows that the fans know that it's coming, and he played with that. And I think that is one of the things that made it such a brilliant jump scare and scene, is that you're waiting for it and you know it's going to happen. And then when it happens, you're still reacting to it in like a very visceral way, which is like pretty amazing. So yes, congratulations.
Yes, Curry Barker. Great job.
Okay.
Tip the hat. Yep.
I don't know if that's the right expression, but I'm trying to be, in my 20s.
He played with the camera work in that scene where it's like, they were doing coverage, so it's the back and forth between Bear and Sarah, and like the window next to her, the way they framed her, you were waiting for it, right? But they keep cutting back, and he shrinks the frame so that when it finally happens, there's less of that window there. I thought that was so well done, because we know, like you guys said, we know it's coming, and they still got us.
Leapt out of my seat.
Very, very hard. And then it does the thing, like where it just keeps going. Like it reminds me of Sideshow Bob stepping on the rakes, where it's just like, oh my God, like it goes over the top, but then stops before it gets completely ridiculous.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Terrifier 2 kind of thing, where when you think it's going to stop, they just keep going.
Yeah. That's actually... go ahead, Jillian. No.
Go.
Okay. I was actually going to say the ongoing nature of that scene is one of the things I loved about the film, because it was not pretty restrained, like thematically it's disturbing the entire way, but viscerally it's a really restrained up until that point, and then it goes unhinged. Mm-hmm. And so I appreciated just leaning full into the unhinged at that moment. So I really liked, like you said, that like, oh, we're about to be done. Nope. Still doing this. Like, I appreciate that about it. Jillian.
Oh, like same note with like the camera work in this. Just, I feel like they had so many long shots, and I think I saw an interview with Curry Barker where he talked about specifically wanting a lot of like long shots in the movie, not like cutting away a bunch. And I feel like that just helps so much with the movie and making it so much more terrifying, because you just get like so much more immersed in it. So I really enjoyed that part of the camera work.
I love long shots. Anybody who has reviewed a movie with me knows I am a sucker for a long shot.
Hey, think about this with this movie. So it just dawned on me while we're talking. So that visceral, like ick feeling that he clearly wanted us to feel, right? And we all felt. Another movie I can think of that used to do that to me, and maybe still does to a degree, is the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, for sure. Like the 16 millimeter, everything about it. Like the first couple times I saw it, I physically revolted. I mean, I loved it, but I was revolted, right? And they tapped him for picking up the franchise for A24. So now I'm like, oh my God, I wonder if that's specifically because somebody at A24 is like, you know what this reminds me of?
Okay, wait, speaking of the ick, because I haven't discussed this before with anyone, but I had the exact same reaction to Hereditary. Like, I left Hereditary after theaters, and I was like, I hated that movie. But it, like, stuck with me so much, and, like, days later, I'm like, wait, I love that movie. But it just, like, gives you such a weird reaction, and I feel like a lot of people that see this movie are, like, having the same reaction as well. Yeah. Where, like, days later, it sticks with you, and you're like, wait, I think I actually did really like it. But I remember, and Hereditary is a very dark, like, shot movie. Whole movie super dark, and like the end of it you're just like, oh, I kind of like feel gross.
I still hate Hereditary, but I also still think it's one of the best horror movies ever made. So it definitely, because it effectively delivers the ick so well. Hats off, man. Yes, I agree, Jillian. But him doing Texas Chainsaw Massacre, he has another movie coming out. Curry Barker has another movie coming out before that, which the premise sounds brilliant. Have you guys seen that?
No.
Yeah. Ghost hunters get involved in, like, they're fakers. They're fake paranormal investigators who get involved in a real haunting. And it is apparently in the same universe as Obsession, and there's references to Obsession in it from what I read on the internet, which we know how reliable that information is. So
sounds a bit like somebody's book that I've read that's on this Tim.
Yeah. All right, anything else on Obsession, guys?
Is Aaron Paul in that? Someone in the chat said Aaron Paul.
Ooh.
Is he going to be in?
I think he is. Let me see if I can find. Let me see if I can find something from it. Something. Curry Barker. what I read is he has already filmed his entire next movie.
Whoa.
Like, Obsession is out now, but he has already completed, it just has Anything But Ghosts. Anything But Ghosts. That's the movie. Aaron Paul's in it.
Nice.
Bryce Dallas Howard. Cooper Tomlinson, so the friend from this movie.
Ian.
Yep. So I want to get into, before we leave Obsession, I want to get into this debate that I see going around online, and I want to pick your guys' brains on it, because I think it's a great point of discussion for this film. Was Bear always the villain?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think even the title plays on the fact that, like, it's actually his obsession with her that is the villainous and dark thing that kicks everything into gear, because he doesn't really that scene of him driving her home, especially in retrospect, is so heartbreaking, because, like, she talks about, you're the only one I can talk to about this stuff, and it's like she clearly sees him as a friend, and he can't get it over with and just ask her, even though she says to him, like, if you like me, now is the time to tell me. Mm-hmm. She's just trying to, like, get past that so they can be friends. And he just can't. And instead he turns to this. And there's a scene, we're in spoiler territory, right? Can
I can, I'll pop up the banner. Yep.
Yeah. To me, the scene that...
Okay, go.
Yeah. In addition to the one I mentioned earlier, is the scene when he calls the hotline. And the first thing he says is not, can I undo this? It's, can I alter it? So that essentially he still wants to keep her trapped in that situation. Yep. He just wants her to be less crazy so that he can have more control over it. And then he gets to, like, well, then, okay, maybe I'll cancel it if I can, but he can't. But that to me is, like, again, that's a dark psychological element to his character that's being revealed.
Yeah, I totally agree. I love that take. And I thought the same thing about the title, that it actually alluded to him, which makes it even darker, because there's nothing making him act that way. That's just how he is. And that's the frightening part, is that he's willing to go, like, through all these lengths, and he's okay with her losing her autonomy, which is really scary and sad.
Yeah. And right before he goes to see the other friend, whose name I just forgot now, but when she's trying to communicate with him from the bed and explain that, like, she's not really there and that she's trapped, and his response is just like, what would be so wrong? Like, why would it be so bad to be with me? Like, he's still stuck on his own egoistic attachment and obsession with her, and that's the ick that sticks with you.
Yeah.
That's the worst scene in the film. That is that scene to me is the scene that gave me the strongest, like, I'm about to throw up in my popcorn bucket, like, feel in that, is when she's laying there and, like, the other one's asleep.
Yeah.
Like, kill me. Ugh, that scene was awful.
I mean, he knows something is up. Like, the moment they kiss, they're making out, and she, like, freaks out. And he's already like, oh, okay, I'll still go through with it. So, like, even from that point, you're like, he already suspects that this isn't real. This isn't really her. So I think that's telling. I don't know. So maybe I do like it more. Maybe Jillian is right, and it gave me like, and that's why I'm, like, so viscerally upset by it. I don't know.